Now we get to talk a little ball. You ready to get to this football element now, man?
Dude, I'm excited.
I mean, I'm hyped too, baby. You know I always get hyped when we get to talk a little football. I mean, people think I like UFC. I love football, baby. Love that. And the NFL recently put out their top 101 free agents coming up in the 20. Obviously, not even next month, like next week. So They put up their top 101 free agents that are going to be up here. And obviously, the Pittsburgh Steelers had multiple people on that list. So as we go through real quick,
more than I would have thought.
Yeah, absolutely. We have Bud Dupree coming in at 12th on the list. And what they said about him, a late season torn ACL hurts Dupree's value, but he's versatile and strong enough to make a 3-year contract worth it. So he was the first one to make his appearance and the highest on the list. Then from there at 25, we have the lit one, Juju Smith-Schuster, coming in at 25. And they say he's known for his social media, yet Juju's game is decidedly old school. A perfect number 2 receiver who can do all the dirty work with incredible toughness over the middle. I think I agree with them 100% right there. Can't go wrong with that. But I would like to say he's known for more than just his social media. He's known for the birthday cake more than the social media. So, I'm going to go with that one. How you like them apples? All right. Next coming in on the list.
Mike Hilton, 51.
Yes, indeed, at number 51. And it simply says, with flair for days, the Steelers slot corner will bring energy and versatility to any team that knows how to use him. Very true. We talked about him, man. Great blitzing. Slot corner, can cover well enough. Tough as nails, man. Gives you a lot in terms of run support. Now, this guy isn't a current Steeler, but former Steeler, Antonio Brown.
Bro, I'm glad 64. You brought that up because I saw his status on these rankings. I'm like, they're off on this. This is terrible.
64.
You've Juju at 25. Come on, bro. This isn't adding up.
You're not going to tell me that. I don't agree with this. I understand from an age standpoint, Juju is 24, AB is at 33, but AB is 64 on this list. Woo! Now that I think about it, wait a second. I can understand why. AB, outside of playing with Tom Brady, we still haven't seen him.
There's only one other team, though. I think it could work.
That's the thing. So
you know what team it is?
I do. I'm with you. But that's, I think, another reason why he's so low. You factor in the age. Obviously, at 33, you're assuming Juju at 24 is coming into his prime. AB is about to be on the way out. But the off-the-field stuff is still obviously lingering because you don't know how he's going to respond in your locker room without a Tom Brady or certain other guy that we know. Guy that we know that happens to reside in the Pittsburgh area,
Those are the 2 QBs where you're like, this would work still. This would work.
I feel like those are the only ones right now. Because
Rodgers.
I don't know.
On paper, yes.
On paper, from a talent standpoint, but I don't know, man. I think those personalities might clash a little bit, man.
Tomlin's still in touch with AB?
I'm not going. I'm just simply saying. I don't know about that one all the way.
In terms of what do you mean? In terms of him hitting the open market, you think it's just going to be Tampa Bay for him, which is going to kill his number.
And I think that's the big thing. Yeah, I think he fits Tampa perfectly because of Brady. If Brady's not there, he obviously doesn't fit Tampa.
You got the former Steelers too, I guess, maybe.
Right. And then on top of that, the other fit, right? The other team that really wanted him was Seattle, more so because of Russell Wilson, but Russ doesn't even want to be in Seattle right now. So even with that, if you're Seattle, I'm not bringing AB there if I don't know if Russ is going to be there.
Probably not. Like, even if you're the team bringing in Russ, that's a lot of action going on in one offseason for you. Russ and AB.
Because Russ is going to bring attention by his own right. He rightfully deserves that. Then you got the regime change of whoever he's replacing. But then to bring in AB, you just know what comes with AB, right, wrong, or indifferent. So it's just hard for me to see teams really wanting to take that chance on him to, number one, give him the money that he deserves, but number two, to run the risk that he might have a meltdown, that it might turn into the Raiders situation again, that some of the off-field stuff that, kind of disappeared might resurface again. Is it worth it at 33 years old? That's the question. Does he still look like the AB of old right now? Granted, he's still
maybe, dude. He was the third or fourth option down there. Yeah. And if you sample it over a course of 16 games, he would have had like 960 yards and 8 touchdowns.
But this becomes the issue, similar to what happened with Juju. When Juju balled out, we said, "Whoa, Juju, you were facing the number 2 corner, sometimes number 3 corner." We know for a fact AB wasn't drawing the main guys. We know this. We know they had 2 studs out there. So that's the other element of it. We've seen him have success against the 3rd corner, right? Can we see it as him being the guy again? Now, for me, I personally think he can.
If you had to bet money,
to that. Yeah. But you have to, that's the question you got to ask yourself. Are you going to pay him to be your number 1 receiver at 33, knowing some of the off-field stuff that might come with him? That kills your market. So, unfortunately, I understand why they got him at 64, even though I personally think he should be a lot higher than 64. He
definitely should be higher, in my opinion.
Definitely should be a lot higher than 64. It's more so the baggage that's holding him back right now, man. But let's continue on this list because he was a former Steeler, not a current Steeler. Coming in next at number 79, Alejandro Villanueva. And they say this: it looks like the Steelers are ready to move on from Villanueva, which is a red flag because the Steelers are nothing if not loyal. This offseason should definitely show you that the Steelers are very loyal. So, with that being said, interesting at 79 for Big Al. Then we have coming in at number 88, Tyson Alualu, part of that amazing 2010 NFL draft class. No, him at 88, it says, it is pretty rare for a former first-round nose tackle to have his best season at 33 years old. But Alualu made himself some money with the Steelers. I mean, I think we both agree with that. Obviously, he's turning 34, but yeah, I think we both agree with that. And I think we had, was there one more left?
Made some money. Are they talking this offseason?
No, yeah. In terms of this, like, as a free agent coming up, he's going to make himself some money because of what he was able to do throughout his these past 2 years in Pittsburgh. And then the last one on the list, coming in at number 97, last but certainly not least, running back out of the University of Pittsburgh, James Conner. Yes, indeed. So my dog Conner comes in at 97, and what they said is the Pittsburgh offensive line didn't help Conner's decisiveness over the last 2 seasons, and they just clearly left it at that. So, as we go through this thing, let's look at this ranking one more time. So, Bud Dupree coming in at, we said, number 12, correct?
Yep.
I like that rating for him. I think he would have been a lot higher if he wasn't coming off the ACL, but it is a little bit interesting to me that Bud coming off the ACL is at 12, whereas the injury we saw Dak sustain, the broken leg, the compound fracture, he's listed at number 1 on this list.
I have questions about a lot of this list. They have Cam Newton up in the 20s.
Yeah, man.
Andy Dalton, I think's in the middle somewhere there too.
Dude, I'm not really liking this list like that per se. I mean, based on talent alone, they had J.J. Watt at 7 on this list,
and they've bought it.
To me, when I look at Bud, even Aaron Jones as a running back, Shaq Barrett as an edge rusher, the guy from Tampa, you're not going to tell me that J.J. Watt at this stage in his career should be rated higher than these guys on the open market when JJ he's 32 or will be 32, and the rest of these guys 28, 26. Bud is 28. Even the edge rusher from New Orleans who's led the league in sack, or he led the league last year, I want to say, or yeah, I want to say it was last year he led the league. Excuse me. Obviously, TJ Watt led the league last year. My mistake on that. He was leading the league at a later end of the season, and obviously TJ passed him. Trey Hendrickson, though, at 26 years old, he's at 13th on this list. Like, I just have an issue with JJ being that high. Carl Lawson, we know Carl Lawson over in Cincinnati at 14 on this list. I have some issues with that, man.
Unless they're going just strictly based off of what they think these guys are going to get in free agency and not based off the talent and who they are as a player. But that doesn't make sense, though, if you have Cam Newton in the 20s then.
Exactly. Because Cam's not about to get paid like that, man.
So I don't know what the hell they were doing with these rankings.
Yeah. I mean, because even right here, right, when we're just thinking about Cam Newton and Juju Smith-Schuster, they're separated by 1. Juju's at 25, Cam's at 26. I don't think Cam Newton's market is anywhere near the conversation of Juju Smith-Schuster right now.
Yeah.
Like, And this is with us saying that Juju is classified as a number 2, not saying one of these teams that might look at him as a number 1. You're not going to tell me that Cam Newton is only one spot behind him in terms of free agency priorities right now or free agency markets right now. Like, it's just not happening, man.
Yeah.
It's not a shot at Cam, but it's more so like, look at what Juju's been able to do recently and throughout his career thus far versus where Cam Newton is at this stage in his career and the performance he just had last year. I just have an issue with that one, man.
Yeah, for sure. At least they gave us a little bit of a bearing for how they have Steelers ranked against the rest of the league, or just probably more or less just how the Steelers are ranked within.
Yeah. Well, and it's good to see. I mean, because I do kind of agree with this. I think the only case that, well, actually, I probably wouldn't. I wouldn't change that because I was flirting with potentially flipping, not in terms of their ranking, but just who would appear first, Mike Hilton or Juju. I think if we're talking Steelers only, right, and which of those 5 guys that we named hurt us the most if they were to leave, if I had to rank them, I'm going Bud Dupree at 1. Mm-hmm. But to me, I'm leaning Mike Hilton at 2. And then, because of what he's been able to do and knowing that you're potentially, because Cam Sutton is going to be in a similar situation where you're going to have to pick which one of those guys you want to do business with.
You think we get either one, though, at least?
I hope so. I definitely hope so. But obviously, we're going to see what other moves they're going to make in these next couple of days to free up a little bit more space. I think that'll tell us a lot more if they'll be able to get one of those guys back. I hope so, though. For me, I think Mike Hilton fits what we're doing defensively better. But I love Cam Sutton from a coverage standpoint, But he doesn't fit what we're doing to the same level unless you're going to play him inside and outside like we did see them do last year with him, right? We talked about when Joe Hayden was dealing with the COVID later in the year where Cam had bumped out there to the outside for a little while. Now, obviously, James Pierre is a guy that a lot of people are excited about. So that could also change how you view Cam Sutton, because if you're not looking at Cam Sutton as a guy that's going to be a covered nickel and a guy that could bump to the outside, then his value decreases a lot. Whereas with Mike Hilton, you know what Mike is. Mike is going to give you great run support. He's going to blitz and rush this quarterback. And he can cover well. Absolutely. You know what he can do. So if you're going to ride with James Pierre as your third corner, right, or your third outside corner, because obviously Hilton is your inside, your nickel corner. If you're going to roll with that, then I'm fine. James Pierre can stand up on the outside. You'll have Mike Hilton be your interior corner, and you let Cam Sutton walk. But if you're thinking of using Cam Sutton on that outside, then it could become a lot tougher of a decision. But I also think Cam is going to cost a little bit more money because of his flexibility and ability to play outside on the edge.
Really? That's interesting.
Yeah, man.
So you would have the list. You would switch maybe Juju and Hilton, but you're good with the rest of the list?
I'm switching Juju and Hilton. And I'm good with the list because obviously it's weird because Juju is very valuable for this offense. Like, we overlook how much of a safety net he was for Ben, how many clutch catches or hustle plays he made. Think about the opener against the Giants. Benny Snell fumbles the ball. Who's the guy to go and get it? It's Juju. How many times did we see Juju be the first guy in the pile? We give him crap for some of the off-field. Right. We give him crap for some of the off-field antics, the TikTok stuff like that. But when it comes to ball, Juju does all the dirty work. You don't get that from star receivers. You don't get that from, your offensive skill position players that much, the higher end guys. But Juju, he loves the dirty work. He's not afraid to block. He'll stiff arm you. He's a tough player, hard-nosed, old school. I thought the description of him was perfect. But it's weird because as it pertains to the Steelers, though, my question is, who's more valuable on offense, Juju or Al Villanueva? Because Al was the left tackle. And
wait, so now you're bumping Al up maybe.
And this is why, because when we talk about the big debate around Ben last year, and I think you're going to agree with me when I get done with this, the divide was, is it Ben's arm strength and accuracy that's left him? And that's why he has to throw the ball fast? Or is it a lack of protection up front?
I go with the latter.
That's what I'm hoping as well. So since they re-signed Ben, I've changed my tune. I'm taking it as O-line. It had to be the O-line. So with that being the case, I think that Al being replaced is going to be a bigger and more pressing need than Juju being replaced. So that's why I would bump up Al to that third spot behind Bud and Mike Hilton, just solely because of, man, if he can directly impact Ben Roethlisberger having to release the ball as fast as he was releasing, that's crazy. We have to get that position right. So that's why, to me, I just think that him being gone is going to be significant, especially if you can't have somebody at least as comparable to him. At least comparable. Yeah.
That's the weird thing about this ranking, because based off position, you could put Villanueva 1, honestly.
It's left tackle. You got to have a left tackle.
Where he's at in his career and how he played last year, he had stretches where he was terrible, but then he also had stretches where we were talking about, like, I was playing pretty good. Yeah, he's fine.
Absolutely.
So that's the thing that makes this ranking weird with where do you put Villanueva, where do you put Juju, because I'm good with letting Villanueva walk. I looked up some of the projected numbers for some of these guys.
He might make more than Juju in free agency.
Which is crazy, which makes me think
Seriously,
I'm good with letting him walk. It's just, who are we replacing him with? Are we putting our money that Zach Banner could maybe at least do what Villanueva did last year at the left tackle position?
But this is my thing, right? In terms of that, granted, you're saving a lot more money. But if that was the biggest reason why Ben looked the way he looked, like putting Zach out there, if he's going to do the exact same thing, just a cheaper version of it, how is that going to help the team? How is that going to help Ben get back to being Ben? That's why I think, like, this is significant. And I just get real nervous about in-house replacements that haven't been playing left tackle. He hasn't been playing that position. He was at right tackle.
Yeah.
And remember, it was a battle back and forth to see if he would even win the right tackle spot. And then he gets hurt in his first game at that spot, so we never got a chance to see him. And then to just think that, all right, he's going to be healthy, weight's good, and just put him at a new position of a higher priority, that I'm not as comfortable with it. Me personally, I'm not.
Yeah. I think I agree with you. Actually, you flipped it a little bit. You put Hilton over Juju. It's weird because with Juju,
you could debate both of those guys.
It's really hard because with Juju, I think you're right in terms of replaceability. You're comparing Juju, him being gone. What does our offense look like? And I'm assuming Claypool's play gets elevated. I'm assuming Deontay's play gets elevated a little bit. And we know what James Washington brings to the table. Yeah. How much of a loss is Juju really compared to Bud Dupree versus Alex Highsmith? Now, if you think Alex Highsmith is going to just walk in and get double-digit sacks,
I do not.
Then you're putting Bud Dupree down on the list.
Yeah. Well, that's why I still have Bud at 1, because I think he impacts this team the most. We saw once he left, that defense never really looked the same.
100%.
It never created the pressure that it was accustomed to creating. Granted, you can make the case for the sack numbers, and we talked about the sack total, how that can be misleading at times. We talk about just creating a hostile environment where the quarterback is under duress, never really has time to get comfortable. We didn't see a lot of that once Bud went down late in the year. Now, I do think Highsmith is going to come in and play well next year. I think he's going to be a big part of this defense. But to expect him to come in and be Bud Dupree in year 2, I just don't see that happening. Mentally, he's capable of it. But physically, there's certain things that Bud could do that Alex isn't capable of doing right now. So that's the thing to me why I just think that drop-off will be felt. And that's why I think that Bud is number 1 on that list, because him being out there changes how we play defense. And not only does that impact that side of the ball, but it helps the offense as well, because we create a lot more turnovers. We're able to get off the field and get the offense the ball a lot more. When he's not out there and that defense has to stay on the field longer, the offense can't get into rhythm the way they want to get into rhythm. When the offense has a mistake, they're not getting bailed out as frequently now because of that. So you can just see how impactful he was to not just the defense, but to the offense as well. So that's why, to me, I think Bud Dupree has to be at number 1 from my perspective.
It could be the perfect situation if we did bring Bud back next year and Highsmith was that third guy rotating between TJ Watt and Bud Dupree. Man.
It would be beautiful.
It's tough because we really want Juju back, but whenever you're looking at all these pieces and talking value, man, like Mike Hilton, Bud Dupree, bringing them back, now we don't really have to worry about that with the draft then. We could just maybe focus on offensive line and running back. That's kind of it.
that changes everything, right? That if that happens, feel a lot more confident going into next season. Feel a lot more confident this team can do a lot more and make a legit run. When you talk about losing those pieces, though, and then having to put all your eggs in the draft basket, knowing that you don't have the resources from a free agency standpoint to get, top tier talent, I don't like that as much. So I'm definitely hoping that, this can work out. Now, the interesting thing with Juju still is this. He keeps putting out the reports that he doesn't care about the money. He wants his offer.
I'm hearing some reports from the Steeler Gang event. Actually, it wasn't a Steeler Gang event. It was a Juju event, but Steeler Gang was there.
Pull it up, man. Yes,
I'm hearing some reports from people over there saying they talked to Juju firsthand. He keeps saying he wants to come back.
That's what I'm seeing as well. And then even his mother was very adamant on social media as well, backing it, and even putting to rest some of the rumors about the offer that he received from the Steelers and things like that. But I'll say this. If I'm the Steelers, it seems from Juju, everything that he's put out, that he hasn't received the offer just yet. If I'm the Steelers, I call his bluff. I'll go out there and I'll give him an offer. Now, I'm going to make sure this offer is very much team-friendly because he's been very adamant about wanting to return. He's been very adamant about not caring about money. He's been very adamant about he wants to stay here. So I would come out here with a number that I think, hey, we can afford to pay you this. We're comfortable paying you this based on the other talent that surrounds you as well. Since you don't care, here's your opportunity to take it. And then from there, we can lay it all to rest. Like that's kind of where I'm at with it because we know we're sitting at March 8th. Free agency starts in a week. Like it's either put up or shut up time. You know what I mean? If you want to come back, Steelers, offer him a contract, whatever y'all feel like he's worth or y'all comfortable paying, and then we can get this thing done. It doesn't have to keep lingering on, though. Like, that's the thing with me. I'm just like, let's go. You know if you want to come back. You know the number that you're willing to come back for. We ain't got to play the guessing game no more.
Could it be some see, that's the thing, dude, in terms of value. I mean, I think you're right, man. I think you're right. It's tough to say because Juju was very impactful, and I would definitely miss him in our offense.
Without a doubt, man.
Yeah, how can you make it work? Can you backload the contract, but then you want to be paying Juju double-digit plus in like 3 or 4 years?
But this is my thing. If he's saying he doesn't care about the money, he wants to come back for, he'll come back for whatever. All I'm saying is if his market is 10, if I'm the Steelers, I'll say you want 6. I give you 6 to come back. Like, what's up? You don't care about your money like that? Come on. Or I'm even offering 5. I mean, why pay full price if I can get it for a discount? That's kind of how I look at it. Because if you're the Steelers, is Juju worth double-digit money knowing the talent that you already have in that room that are on rookie contracts? That's what you got to ask yourself.
For sure. Because, you're going to have to pay Deontay and Claypool coming up.
Absolutely.
James
Deontay's
Washington
up,
even.
James Washington is after this year. Deontay is the year after that. And then Claypool will be the year after that. So
and who could we draft in that time period where you're like, all right, this guy's the next receiver stud?
Yep. So that's the issue. So without disrespecting Juju, with a disrespectful offer, that's kind of the scenario because it's not about if Juju is a good player or not. It's not about is he worth this money or not. The problem is the talent that these guys already have.
If we didn't have Claypool, it'd be a different story.
It's way different. If you didn't have Deontay, it's way different. If you didn't have James Washington, it's different. But knowing these other guys that are either equally talented or some can make the case that they're more talented, it makes Juju a lot more expendable. And that's why, from the Steelers' perspective, the money gets a little dicey here because, well, if you're the Steelers, would you even want to pay him $5 million when you know these other guys are making a couple $100,000?
For sure.
You run into that issue again,
It's definitely a good question to ask. But with us talking numbers like this, it's why AB to the Steelers coming back makes 100% complete sense. I'm looking at some of these projections.
He'll be cheap.
They're saying like $3-4 million a year for AB, which I was a little surprised by. I thought it would at least be like 7, 8, 9 range. But geez, man, you would rather be paying AB $3 or $4 million.
Listen, we're not even thinking twice about that. Like I said, he could have the same corner locker. If you want, he can have my old locker. I don't even care. Either way, get on in there for your little 2 for a little 3 million and do what you do. Do what you do. We know what you do. You know what I mean? So
you know what it is with the Steelers, Big Ben.
Yeah.
You know that chemistry, Mike Tomlin.
Absolutely, man. The Wi-Fi always good, baby. Come on now,
man.
Yeah,
it'd be perfect. I don't know if it's gonna happen though. I don't know Ben and AB relationship, if that's mended or not. AB Steelers organization, AB Rooney.
At least you got AB and Tomlin. That's
True.
One ace in the hole. We got that definitely. So it'd be interesting, man.
Because it makes complete sense.
It makes a ton of sense, especially what you just said. Would you rather pay Juju $5 to $6 million, and that's drastically below his market value, or would you rather pay AB $3 million, $4 million,
even 5 or 6? Like, what if Tampa's only paying AB 3, and we're like, hey, we'll give you 6?
Yeah, or if you had to choose Juju for $6 million, AB for $6 million right now.
I'm still going AB.
Those are serious questions, man.
I'm still going AB for sure.
And you probably could get them on a 1-year deal. It doesn't even have to be a multi-year deal. Just give it to them on a 1. Just let me see what it look like. I need to know if it's still real. I think it's still real, but I need to know. That's one thing, man.
It would be perfect. Anything else on these rankings? Is Conner kind of underrated, actually?
I do believe at 97. I like Conner. Like Chris Carson, for example, is at 53. I don't think Chris Carson. I think Chris Carson is a better player, but I don't think he's that much better than what a James Conner is. But both of these guys, you know, when you think about the injury history, the highs and lows from both of their performances, I just don't think that gap is that big. I'm trying to say who else is rated crazily. Kenyon Drake at 68. Like I said, with James at 97,
I'd maybe still rather have Conner, but not at the number.
Yeah. Right. And the money is going to have a lot to do with it. But I think the thing with James that he kind of gets the bad rap for, we all agree that the O-line struggled. And even as it pertains to Al was good, really good at times in pass protection. But in terms of just movement, right, blowing guys off the ball, he struggles with that. When I think of those things, why do we make it as only an indictment on James Conner that the running game wasn't working when we know for a fact there was, very minimal push up front. Obviously, it was mixed up of a line a couple of times because of different injuries and stuff like that. But I just think that James definitely is getting, he's taking on a lot more of that than he really is responsible for. And that 97 definitely shows that. I think James in the right situation can still ball out. I think from a health standpoint, that's going to be the big thing. But if you have him in a better situation up front from a O-line standpoint, I don't think he's going to have to take as many hits. I think that, he's going to be able to be the one delivering the blow a lot more than being on the receiving end of it. And I think wherever he goes in his next situation, he's not going to have to be the bell cow back. It's going to be some form of legitimate rotation, legitimate committee, which is ultimately going to help him a lot longer in terms of extending his career a lot longer.
So I'm looking at the stats. James Conner last year. Mm-hmm. In 13 games, 721 yards, 6 touchdowns. That's 4.3 yards per carry, 215 receiving yards, 35 receptions. And that's 13 games. In reality, it was probably more like 11.5 or 12 with some of the games he played.
And security too.
Ball security?
Talk about the ball security.
Did he fumble?
That's what I think he might have had one.
I'm trying to look. Right? I don't know if it's popping up here. Fumble. 2.
2. Okay. So still good ball security as well. When I think of all of those things, it's like I think the perception surrounding James is very inaccurate right now. I think that, like I said, it was all the different variables, but he became the face of it. He became the scapegoat for that. And unless you get some of these running backs that we talked about, right? In terms of a Travis Etienne, in terms of a Najee Harris, in terms of a Javonte Williams, I don't know how much of an upgrade we're getting at running back as we continue to progress down because, like I said, James is still a good player. So you're going to make sure that, hey, this guy needs to be at least better than what James was.
Sure. Just not for $5-6 million for the Steelers organizational standpoint.
Yes. Yeah. We're not paying that for we won't need to pay that. Not to running back right now.
Yeah. Yeah. So if you look at it, 930 something yards on, 11.5, 12 games last year.
Yep.
With our shitty offensive line.
I was say, and being very unbalanced as well. We didn't have a lot of balance in terms of rushing attempts consistently either. I like that for James, man. I think that in the right situation, James can still flourish, man. He can still be a really
he was
good
like
player.
a top 5 or 6 rusher 6-7 weeks
dude.
into the season. I think what hurts him too is whenever Benny Snell was in, I thought his games just felt better. Like whenever he played really well, like the Giants game, you felt like, oh man, Benny Snell, this is Steeler running back right here. And then the Bengals game too, just when everything was going to shit, he came in and provided some type of running game.
Yeah.
I think that's what hurt Conner, because whenever he had his good games, it never really felt like we needed him that bad. I think one of them came in the Cleveland game. We were already dominating them.
Yep.
So that probably has something to do with the perception too.
Mm-hmm. So it is crazy surround him. And I also know in terms of the yards per carry, it was largely ballooned because of that run that he had at the end of the game against Denver. No, seriously, if you take the Denver run out of it,
really, it goes down to 4, maybe.
It goes to like less than 3. It was in the 3. It was like 3.5 or 3.7 or something like that. Yeah.
Really?
So yeah. Because we did this week 2 ago. We actually had to look at his numbers and we were like, well, man, it wasn't that bad. Look at the average yards per carry. We're like, oh, that was the play. You take that out. He's like, oh, all right, not as impressive. Okay. But either way, man, the play happened. So with the play happening, we're going to take them yards per tote. So I like it.
Sure.